Let me call to order this meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency. The date is Monday, December 11th, 2023, and the time is 3:30 p.m. And do we have any comments from the public? Any cards? All right, we'll go around and work with the board. President Warren, any comments?
No, Mayor.
Commissioner Lambert?
No comments, Mayor, but I do see someone from the public who's turning in a card.
Okay. We'll
Mayor?
keep working on the dais.
Yeah, I believe you want to, ma'am, you want to speak to the agenda item 8.3.
All right, so we're just going general comments now. Okay, Commissioner Ward
No comments.
and Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone on the CRA, Sibule Wilter as well from Art Life. I know there was some people from the related group as well, just that for the amazing holiday event we had a few weeks ago, just from the beginning to the end, started in the square with a marching band from Palm Beach Lakes High School, walking all the way down to Heart and Soul Park. It was really just like magic watching them. And then the entire event was fantastic. I know Ansley, I don't know if she's here, I think maybe it was her first event since she's joined the team, and she really just did an awesome job getting the word out, communicating to residents, and I think it was, I'll wait to hear how many people attended. I think it was one of the best attended events I've ever seen there, so just thank you to everyone on the CRA that was involved in planning that event. Thank you.
Thank you. I heard some wonderful things about it as well, so kudos to all those involved. Mr. Ruger, are there any additions, deletions, reorganization of the agenda?
No, Mayor.
Okay. We will start with a presentation updating the CRA board of the status for the Broadway Mixed-Use District Zoning Code Project. This is item 6.1. Ms. Aponte?
Good afternoon, Mayor, board members. This is an update of the Broadway Mixed-Use District redevelopment study.
Could you speak a little closer to your mic, please?
Sure, sorry. The CRA engaged the services of Dover Co. and Partners this year, and we started working with them in June 2nd was the kickoff meeting. And after that, we have, in September 20, we have the first community engagement meeting to gather information from the community about their desires and the issues along the Broadway corridor. So the meeting was very successful. We have a large attendance at the meeting. Around 180 people attended the meeting and have a discussion with the most important issues along Broadway. They have visual surveys for them, so they provided input to the consultants, and also there was like a phone survey for them to respond to the most important questions, and also an interactive workshop. So they discussed in tables the main issues that they face along the corridor and their vision, and then they presented to the rest of the group what they wanted to see. In addition to this workshop, we have small stakeholder meetings with the group of RISE, Milagro Center, and also business owners, and also the consultant met individually with the city commissions and administration and city staff to discuss the kind of initial concepts about Broadway corridor. So this was the initial community engagement. One of the important things that came out from the community engagement is I thought this was very interesting, and it's very enlightening that it follows basically what the general public and the city is looking into. This is basically create a corridor that is a mixed-use walkable corridor along Broadway that improves the quality of life for not only the people that live on the corridor but the residents around it. So it's very enlightening that everybody seems to be in the same page with what is the desire for the corridor. How it's moving along, so as I say, the phase one, that is the kickoff meeting and the initial analysis, is already completed. The initial community engagement is already also completed, and now we are in the middle working on the first draft of the code update. We have the first draft, we are reviewing it, and it will be presented in January. And we're moving along with the process. We have also received from the consultant the first annotated outline of the code that was sent to staff in early November. We met with them, discussed some of the initial concepts, and they sent us the initial draft of the code that is a more detailed document that has information, more detailed zoning and land development regulation information. We received it on November 21st. So we had an internal review of it. We are discussing some of the concepts, and we're going to have a meeting with the consultant next week. The main components of this draft includes information about what will be the proposed building height along the corridor by right, and also if there are going to be any incentives for additional height along the corridor, how is the building placement going to be, the permitted uses along the corridor, parking, and all those details that are going to help us to craft that vision of that corridor. So that includes how the public space is going to interact, how we're going to produce that image that we all have in our heads. Dovercall is working on creating renderings to illustrate very well how this vision, this regulation, the details will translate into a building to make it easier for everybody to understand what the final result will be. So as I said, staff is internally reviewing this draft, and we are scheduling a meeting with the consultant for next week to go over all the details of this. So the individual meetings, after these, the individual meetings will take place with the commission and administration, and the public meeting, the next public meeting will occur on February 1st next year to present again at the Manatee Lagoon and to present the draft of the code. In addition, we are organizing some separate meetings with the RISE Foundation and also the Esperanza Center. We're probably going to have a meeting in Spanish to capture additional audience and have everybody included. Formal presentations to receive input will happen after the February 1st, so we're gonna schedule for the February CRA Advisory Board, the February also CRA Board, and the Planning Board to formally present the document to the boards and give an additional opportunity for the public to comment. Once these presentations occur, of course, we'll go back to the drawing table, gather all the comments from all the different entities, and have a finalized code by spring 2024. And this is actually great news, because we originally, when we drafted the document for the contract, we had the code split in two sections, the north section and the south section. But once the project advanced, it was understood that we could have the entire code drafted in one instead of dividing it in two, and have the input from the community at one meeting instead of having them to come back to a separate meeting. So we're going to have a draft of the code by spring, and it will be the entire corridor from 25th to 59. It will still have differentiations between the different areas, but it will be like all ready for the public to review. And once the code is finalized in the spring, we'll kind of continue the building consensus, and we expect to have the code approved and legally in place by the end of 2024. That will include the comprehensive code changes and the zoning and land development regulations that have to go through the approval process. That's where we are, and I just wanted to give you this initial kind of a state of where the process is.
Thank you, and I appreciate that update. Board members, any questions, comments? Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you so much. It's exciting to see this process be underway. I was just curious. I know that sometimes when we've undertaken a process that takes a little bit of time to get all of this feedback and go through all of these steps, that sometimes the folks who maybe participated in the beginning or prior to, that they kind of lose sight when it comes for a vote later on. Is there somewhere on the CRA website, or is there some place that kind of coalesces all of this information so that residents can be kept aware?
Yes, Commissioner, we have a website for the project. I will say it's broadway.com, but I don't remember exactly. I can look for the link, but it's on the CRA page also. There's a link in there, and there's a dedicated page for the Broadway where the documents reside and where the updates of the process and how it's going it's posted.
Wonderful. Thank you, because you've done a lot of great work, and I want to make sure everybody sees it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much for that update. Truly appreciate it. All right, commissioners, board members, we do have a couple of items on consent, 7.1 and 7.2. Any questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of consent agenda as presented for items 7.1 and 7.2.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.1, resolution number 23-41, authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $5 million in aggregate principal amount of West Palm Beach Community Redevelopment Agency subordinate tax increment revenue bonds. Mr. Roop.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor Chris Rugg, Executive Director of the West Palm Beach CRA. So, going to present the item before you today, which is essentially the authorization of moving forward with the revenue bonds based on the direction that this board gave earlier this year at the October CRA board meeting. But real quick, I'll do a brief summary and overview the corridor, get into the line of credit terms, and also what those funds are planned to be used for. And then happy to answer any questions that you all may have. We also have Bridget Souffrant from the Finance Department, who has been really great in helping with get this across to this point, as well as Peter from the financial advisory firm that's been helping us with this. Pete's been helpful, and he presented at that meeting in October as well. So just as a brief recap, the corridor is approximately 2 miles in length and has seen quite a bit of effort by this board, so much so that we've put it into not only the CRA's strategic finance plan, but it also appears in the city's strategic plan to address in a very intentional way. There are several neighborhoods that line this corridor, all of which have expressed just great interest as illustrated by our BMUD outreach when we had the initial kickoff on the regulations. So there is great anticipation and also desire to continue to move forward with the redevelopment of the Broadway corridor. Efforts to date, back in 2002, that's where we really sort of got sort of the initial direction from the board to move forward with several things, including the BMUD. We heard a presentation from ULI, and then to look into further this loan concept. But we also became very aggressive on acquisitions of properties up and down Broadway. And then this year, as you know, and as Ms. Aponte just illustrated, we kicked off with Dover Coal, and since then have also got direction to move forward with that line of credit, borrow and loan at the October 2nd meeting. This image illustrates one of the properties that we did acquire that was a bit problematic for the corridor. And this is, we demolished it. It is now a nice vacant shovel-ready site ready for construction. So the line of credit terms, the loan amount is not to exceed $5 million that we can pull down for the purposes of purchasing properties. The term of the overall line of credit is 7 years. That's when it needs to be returned and paid back, or taken down and paid back. There is a bond counsel fee associated with it that will be paid to Valley National Bank. The structure is we have 28 months to pull down the funds that we need for the acquisitions, and then afterwards it will be amortized into a loan payback that will be paid in 2 payments throughout the year. And then the interest rates prior to or during that 28th month draw. So if we take the entire $5 million, it'll be the interest rate will be at the Wall Street Journal's prime minus 0.5%, which is approximately 8. And then after that draw period, the staff will have the ability to take whatever we feel is going to be the best financial decision for the agency, which is that fixed or variable rate, which we'll know at the conclusion of the draw period. And if you would like more details on that, Bridget and Pete are also here to answer a little bit more detail if you'd like that. The use of the funds, very straightforward. We're going to purchase additional properties along the 2-mile corridor. We're estimating that we're potentially, depending on the size of the lots, could be 4 up to 5 properties along Broadway. We'll be looking to do these contiguously because obviously that has that's attractive from a developer or development perspective. And then really the whole purpose behind this is that to then take those regulations that we're working on with Dover Coal, apply them to a project and show that proof of concept and provide that catalyst for the corridor that we're then hoping will spread down the entire 2.5-mile stretch. When you combine that with what's happening in Northwood Village with the development plan there, it really does have that transformational feel that is essentially the purposes of CRAs. So with that, staff recommends approval based on board direction for Resolution 2341 for the line of credit. There's a very clear goal in the CRA strategic finance plan, even down to delineating a section, although I would say that while we'll aim for 47th to 59th Street, if there are other properties that seem that it is furthers the goal in a major way, we'll look at those as well. If approved, the next steps, this is moving very quickly. We have a scheduled closing this Friday, and at the after the closing date, which is Friday, December 15th, the CRA staff would then have funds available to begin the property acquisition steps. Happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Thank you. Do you have properties in that you're targeting? I obviously don't want any more specific information since we probably are in negotiation, but do we have some properties in sight?
We have a sort of a triage list, Mayor, where we have ones that we really want to emphasize and try to acquire, and then those that sort of fall down from there on the nice to have if we can get those. But yeah, it'll be negotiated on a property by property, starting with those that we feel will have the biggest impact to the CRA's plans.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions, comments, board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 23-41.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.2, resolution number 23-43, approving an interlocal funding agreement between the Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of West Palm Beach for the additional design costs to add multi-use pathways to the FDOT Okeechobee and Lakeview project, and resolution number 23-44F, authorizing the appropriation or transfer of funds in fiscal year 2023/2024 for the redesign of the Okeechobee Boulevard and Lakeview Avenue project.
Good evening, Mayor, board members. A little bit of background on this item. In 2022, the FDOT began design work on Okeechobee Boulevard and Lakeview Avenue from Tamarind Avenue and Flagler Drive. Their scope of project included resurfacing of the corridor, relocation of some drainage facilities, street light upgrades, and paved markings, including a lane with reduction and adding a bike lane at the street level. So staff reviewed that proposal. As part of the process, they sent it to the city for review. And while we were reviewing it, we identified that there was some room for improvements on the FDOT design. So the city and the CRA joined forces with the DDA and the related companies, and we basically went and approached FDOT requesting them to do some modifications on the design. The intention was basically inspired by what was accomplished when the Kravis Center came in for renovations. When the Kravis came in, there was some work done with the planning department to basically redesign the proposal along Okeechobee Boulevard and transform that into a more pedestrian-friendly environment. The proposal included a multipurpose path that had a bike lane and a sidewalk, and also some buffer protecting the pedestrians from the vehicular drive. So that was the inspiration. We approached FDOT with that idea, and to basically use the area that they were allocated for the on-street bike lane and allocated on race multipurpose pad, and possibly wherever it was available, accommodate some landscape buffers. So FDOT was amenable and agreed to accommodate the redesign if the city was willing to pay for the additional costs associated with the revisions on the scope. FDOT elected to defer the project for 1 year to allow for these modifications to happen, and basically requested the city to enter into a local funding agreement to cover the additional costs for the design. The LFA will be between the city and the FDOT, and then in front of you tonight is an interlocal agreement between the city and the CRA for the CRA to cover those costs associated with the redesign. The costs are currently estimated in $800,000. That's what FDOT told us, so the agreement will be for that amount. And that will cover the redesign of the project. As we are right now in the initial stage, so we are reviewing the whole project that they presented, and they evaluating to see to what extent we can accommodate the bigger vision. We are not gonna probably accommodate that exactly in some of the areas because there's no space available, but we are trying to get the best we can in every section of the corridor. A future LFA will be presented once the project is designed for the approval of the additional costs that will be incurred with the redesign of the corridor. The CRA resolution number 2343 approves the interlocal agreement between the city and the CRA to transfer the funds to the city, and the CRA resolution 2344F transfer the funds to the city. There's a companion resolution item 33723 in the City Commission agenda that authorizes the execution of the LFA between the city and the CRA. The staff recommends approval of the, as the local funding agreement is a good opportunity to improve the pedestrian conditions of Okeechobee Boulevard and Lakeview and provide bike facilities along the corridor are better than the current conditions. That concludes the staff presentation.
Very good. Thank you for that presentation. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much for this presentation. I'm happy that they could wait a year and work with the city to make sure we're making the most safe street we can and these improvements. I'm wondering if in the next, I know that today we're just talking about these initial steps, but I get a lot of calls from people that are concerned about crossing Okeechobee. I know a lot of it is because the county lighting the signalization needs to be tweaked, and that is not something we can do. But I'm just hoping that with this step, we can continue to work with the county in whatever way we can on the signalization and any other safety improvements. I think people that are trying to cross, especially from the square to the convention center, it's very dangerous, and I'm so happy to see that we are doing what we can to improve the safety for our residents, but unfortunately, we have other stakeholders that we need them to be involved as well. So I see Kevin out there as well. I'm just hoping by saying this that we can continue to work as closely with the county as we can to make sure that we're making this safe for all users. Thank you.
Commissioner, I have to give a little bit of blowback to the statement, it's very dangerous. I'm not aware of any pedestrian vehicle incidents at that crossing. I mean, we have lights there. So I would not necessarily want to characterize that crossing as dangerous. What data do you have that says that it's dangerous?
Well, I receive emails that say literally people feel like they're going to be killed on crossing the street. And so maybe that's not the data you're asking, but it is, I go there at least, once a week up crossing the street as well. It's, if you're trying to cross and the lighting, changes too quickly, people are getting stuck in the middle, and I feel like it's not our responsibility. We can't help with the signals, but we can help, I guess, to talk to the county about their improving the signals.
Yeah, okay, we will do that. The county seems to be dead set on, at least on a portion of Okeechobee, having some kind of overhead pass, bridge or something like that, which I'm not sure is the proper solution. Okay. Any other, Commissioner Ward?
I just wanted to follow up on that because when Commissioner Fox, when you mentioned that, I agree. It's not necessarily that I've seen anybody get hit or anything like that, but you really have to haul down when that light turns for you to walk across Okeechobee. I've been stuck in the middle, and I've started when the light changed, and so for whatever reason, it is a very short. And if we're trying to get people to go convention center, the hotel, to the square, and that mobility. And I didn't realize it was a county thing, so I think it makes a little more sense why we haven't fixed it. But it is a short time for you to get over such a large road. I just wanted to chime in as well.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 23-43 and resolution number 23-44F.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing opposition, motion carries unanimously. Item 8.3, resolution number 23-46, authorizing the negotiation of a conveyance and development agreement for new affordable housing at 816 3rd Street with Signet Foundation, Inc. Mr. Rube?
Thank you, Mayor. There we go. So, in addition to the resolution, this is also Christopher Rugg, Executive Director. This is a presentation on the proposals that we received when we did a notice of disposition for a vacant piece of property that is within the CRA and is also owned by the CRA. This is the parcel that is located on 3rd Street. So we'll do just a quick overview of it. Also talk a little bit of what that notice of disposition process looks like, because there is sort of a greater thought here. This isn't the only piece of property that the CRA has that is available for affordable housing. So I do want to mention a little bit about that process and how it could be used in the future. Obviously, we received proposals for this lot, so I will touch base on each one and the evaluation that went into those proposals. Ultimately, staff did come up with, it was very tough because we have 4 great proposals, but we did come up with a recommendation for one of them that the board can consider tonight to move forward with. And then if there are any questions at the conclusion of the presentation, happy to answer if you have them. So as a quick summary of the location, it is nestled in the historic Northwest, right there on 3rd Street, between, if Tamarind Avenue is to the left of the screen and Sapadilla is to the right, it is between Division and Douglas, right there in the middle of the on 3rd Street in the middle of the block. Also located around several other CRA projects, so this will continue the work of what we're doing in that historic neighborhood. We've actually owned this individual parcel for quite a while, going back into PAPA. It's been on the CRA's rolls since September 2010. And it's currently, according to PAPA, valued just shy of $59,000. While we can do up to 2 units, all the proposals are recommending and proposing a single-family home on the structure. It is currently vacant and is ready to be built on. The notice of disposition process, this is something that is enabled by the state of Florida under Chapter 163. And this is where we publish it in our local newspaper, but we didn't stop there. When we published this notice of disposition, we also, in addition to the Palm Beach Post, which we're statutorily required to do, we put it on the CRA website. We also put it out to a list of builders or home builders that have expressed interest in improving the neighborhood in the past. I believe we also put it in our newsletters as well, so that was one thing that I did miss on this list of ways to notice the opportunity. And we were very clear that we wanted this parcel to be used for affordable housing and to submit proposals that only are going to use it for that purpose. That went out on October 17th, 2023. It closed on November 17th, 2023. The state says we have to do it for a minimum of 30 days, so we used that minimum 30-day window. And at the conclusion, we received 4 proposals: Neighborhood Renaissance, Habitat for Humanity of Greater Palm Beach County, Mesocore Solar Homes, and one from the Signet Foundation. And a preview of the ad that was published. This was published by the Palm Beach Post. The image is to the right on the screen if you're curious of what was put in the newspaper. So the thought behind doing this sort of one-off, one parcel, even though we do have several, is really at the conclusion is to get feedback from the board on doing this further. We do have additional lands available, and knowing that we want to continue to pursue the creation of more affordable housing, there is a way that I believe we can structure sort of several at once, maybe offer the same opportunity to several different partners by identifying that in some type of notice of disposition. And that would be able to create perhaps a variety of price points if we're looking to offer it to different area median incomes, and also to offer a different variety of products. If you go to very interesting neighborhoods, a lot of times each houses are different and offer a different type of product. So at the conclusion, if this is something that the board likes, we're happy to get that direction and bring back sort of a plan with a little more detail. So I just want to put that out there before we get into the proposal so that you can give us any feedback at the conclusion if you like. So now getting into the proposals, as I mentioned, we received 4, and these proposals were evaluated on a series of criteria: price point, past experience in actually creating the units, financial ability, product type, process to find a buyer, speed of construction, where the partner is actually located. And then each one, it's really hard to sort of standardize them, although we did it the best we could. Each one sort of offers something unique that I think is noteworthy. This image is just to give you an example. This was done in the historic Northwest, actually houses one of our local residents now, and it was a great hit and a desire to see more units like this. So many of them sort of match this image in front of you, which was built about a year or so ago. So starting with Neighborhood Renaissance, the product that they're offering here in front, they proposed an area median income of 120%, or a little over 300,000. Their experience is without question. They've done great things throughout the city and through the county, and they continue to do great things in the city of West Palm Beach. The product type is very standard, 3-2, about 1,600 square feet, and the time of construction is extremely attractive with that 9-month window from the time that they are able to get approval from the building department. Located in the city of West Palm Beach, they're right there in Northwood Village. So I know we have, and I failed to mention, board members, that all of the proposers are in the crowd today. So they are here, and we're appreciative of the time that you've taken to submit these proposals, and thank you for attending tonight. But Neighborhood Renaissance, very active in the Coleman Park area, and are doing great things with the Adopt a Block program, and just a really fabulous partner that put forth a great proposal. Next is one of the more interesting proposal that I think is a great way to tackle affordability head-on. Messicor Solar Homes, located in Riviera Beach, proposed a modular unit that could be built for the historic Northwest. While I did reach out to them, I didn't get some feedback on some questions. So some of the information around the AMI and the buyer I pulled off of their website. So that information comes directly from their webpage. Their past experience, they've done several homes throughout the state of Florida in many cities that are in the north end of the state. As you can see, I couldn't get the information on the buyer process of the time for construction, but judging by the modular approach, my guess is that would be expedient and very quick. What's interesting is that they are including like their name says, a solar component, which, thinking about the sustainability and also the quickness, offers sort of a unique approach, I think, to some of the homes that we could look for in the future, because obviously the sustainability component could help with electricity and maybe some other things that they have planned for the home. They also did submit some highly technical documents, so it looks like they would be able to submit those to the building department in relatively short order. So another great proposal. Habitat for Humanity, this is, if there was a household name in affordability, they would probably be it. Their AMI, while it says 80%, and that sale price of $400,000, they actually only, there's a couple of mortgages that go into the purchase of the home. They take one, and then the buyer is really on the hook for the mortgage that gets them to that 80% level. And both are with Habitat for Humanity. So while they are selling it, that means that the owner has instant equity, and the mortgage is held with Habitat, so they can make sure that they stay with the homeowner. But they would only be paying that amount that gets them in that 80% category. Without question, their experience, tried and true. They've been in the county for decades, so they definitely have the financial ability. They actually offered, while I could only show one of the products, they actually offered two in their proposal. So it looks like either one could fit on that lot. The time for finding a buyer is relatively quick. They find the buyer before they even start construction. Out of all of the proposals, their time for construction is the longest at 24 months. But because they have sort of that specific process and just a series of financial resources, they have that sort of that tried and true approach that I think would be successful regardless. So one of the great proposals that we received. And then last, certainly not least, is Signet Foundation. This is another modular approach, which I think is very attractive. They're aiming for an 80% of $250,000, and that is per the county's affordable program, which is something that they intend to utilize. Past experience, a couple of communities that are also in South Florida, so they've shown proof that they can get and make this happen. A basic 3-2 structure, 1,400 square feet, which fits within the context of the community. Time to find a buyer from when they commence construction is reasonable, 30 to 60 days. And then the quickness for construction is really attractive. That 4 months to get a unit up and available for occupancy is very attractive. It's important to note that Signet is hyper-local, being not only in the city of West Palm Beach, but actually in the historic Northwest. And that was something that we thought should not be overlooked, because having our local partners actually in the community that we're working in and day out, and only a few blocks away from the site, is, I think, something where we know that they're going to stay on top of and watch it on a daily basis as the project moves forward. So when we looked at all four and we kind of compared them all together, it was a very tough staff recommendation. We spent a lot of time looking at these, but ultimately We feel that Signet would be the best fit for this lot. That when we compared it all together, created the resolution to move forward with them tonight. However, I do want to note that while we are recommending to move Signet, that's why I started the discussion with keeping in mind that we have other lots and other opportunities available. And if this process is something that the board likes, I do believe that there's a lot of merit into doing sort of several other lots and creating more opportunities where perhaps we could work with all of these proposers in the future and actually get a different, a variety of product type, a variety of price points that would benefit the entirety of the historic Northwest. Ultimately, this proposal or the resolution authorizes us to negotiate with Signet Foundation. We would bring that conveyance and development agreement back to the board, and we would go through the details and specifics on that agreement. But with that, staff recommends approval of Resolution 23-46. We have a very specific goal in our strategic finance plan, and this falls under improving the residential fabric of the historic Northwest, and it's also affordability is outlined several times in the strategic plan. So if the board does move forward, we would bring a conveyance and development agreement at the next available CRA board meeting or when we have it ready with the city attorney. Happy to answer any questions, board members.
Thank you, Mr. Roog, for that detailed presentation. Any questions? Okay, Commissioner Ward and President Warren.
Thank you so much for the detail. Could you put it back on the chart that you had outlining each of the applicants?
That one?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
And I'm curious, and obviously, I hear talking with affordability, 60 to 80 is, we're in dire need for that range. I'm curious of all the different programs, and off the top of your head, but what have we been usually approving in this area? Has it been a mix between 80 and 120? Has it been more at the 120 mark, more at the 80 mark?
So the one that comes to mind is really the Grand, which I know is kind of apples and pineapples. I mean, they're completely different, but it really does. It's while we're targeting the 60 to 100%. So wherever we can get to the lower ends, we've been really trying to do that because the direction has been, maybe even 100% isn't enough effort that we're putting in. We really need to try to get to that 80%. 60 is really tough. But we've really been trying to, I think, target the 60 to 100% with an emphasis on the 80. And I know that's not too specific because the Grand really did capture a little bit of everything in those 60 to 100 and then also, of course, the market rate. But I think moving forward, we'll continue to stay within that percentage of 60 to 100. The only one that may be an exception are the two historic homes that we're looking to partner with related on moving them over to the historic Northwest. And that's because the ownership of a historic structure can be a drain on resources. So we may bump that AMI up a little bit, but ultimately I don't see anything going above 120% area median income. Right?
Follow up.
No, thank you.
President Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Roog, I'd like to confirm a couple of things and then ask a couple of questions. So all of the proposers in this were all community-based organizations?
The only one that is not and by community-based, Commissioner, I assume you're referring to not-for-profit?
Correct.
So the only one that I believe is not a not-for-profit is Mezzacor. On their website it says they are a family-owned LLC.
Okay. So the other three are nonprofit organizations.
Yes.
And I can appreciate that you identified other opportunities that could be created. I certainly support anything that could increase our housing stock in this particular area. And I also support nonprofit organizations having the opportunity to participate in this as well. The Signet Foundation identified that they would be able to get construction started in 4 months. Did they qualify that to you and tell you how they would be able to move forward so quickly? I think that that's impressive.
It is impressive. Because it is a modular design and they've done all of the heavy lifting because of the factory approach. The factory is based out of Miami. They've already gotten all of the building code requirements squared away. So really it is a review of the building department, but because they've done it over and over and over, it's really easy for them to submit those plans to the building department. And because it is all code compliant and a lot of the necessary information that's needed by the building department to review it is already baked into the plans. From there, getting the approval should be relatively quickly, and obviously we would work with the building official on those. But we expect that the approval process to be quickly, and then from there, the fabrication doesn't take too long in the factory. I mean, really, I believe, Signet, the folks from Signet can talk more about this. I think the majority of the time is going to be needed on the foundation and pouring the concrete for the actual unit to sit on.
Thank you. So they have significant experience in providing this type of home, and they're also based in the community in which the home will be located.
Yes. Yes, they're located at 822 North Tamron Avenue.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you. Chris, can you talk a little bit about the process to find a buyer? Is it something that is each organization will bring to the table a different solution, or is there something that we are involved in helping to find the buyer?
I mean, we can always help in any way by supplying names, but many of them have their own, have indicated that they have their own ways of identifying owners. For instance, Habitat has a very clear way, they identify them before they even start construction. And I mean, they didn't get too much detail into how they go about finding those, but all of them indicated that it shouldn't take too long to identify that buyer, and then to get them into the process and financially vetted to take ownership of the project once it gets a certificate of occupancy.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you so much for this presentation and to all the applicants. I think it's exciting to have this program, and I look forward to the other properties that you have to bring forward to us. I think it's great that we have so many different partners. I love the nonprofit focus, but even Mesocore thinking, outside of the box, a little bit more innovative. Although I would say if we go with one of those, that one had a little bit more to go on maybe some of the landscaping and some of the outside kind of homey feel compared to some of the others. I'm not as familiar with Signet and their program as I am with Neighborhood Renaissance and Habitat for Humanity. So, I'm looking at this chart, and I think that this is really great. And I think that for this first one, maybe proof of concept and having us to be able to build something quickly and to show the neighborhood that we're invested in this, I think that that's important. But I don't know if it's now or at another time. I would like to hear a little bit more about how the organization selects its tenants, because I think that having either wraparound services or support services to help make sure that those that we're helping get into the homes can stay in the homes, because it's not just getting them in quickly, but making sure that they have a home for as long as they need one.
Mr. Root?
Completely agree, Commissioner, and I think that what we would probably do is, so that the board is comfortable before we approve the conveyance and development agreement, is we would ask for those details, and know exactly how the partner intends to identify it, and get a little bit more feedback, because we're going to ask that during negotiations, and then obviously we would want that to be very clear to the board prior to approval of the agreement.
All right, any other questions, comments? Do we have any cards on this? Okay, we have two cards. One from Mesocore LLC, Kevin Eligwe. Says he does not wish to speak. For future 4 to 10 lot properties, Mesocore is interested in developing a modern modular community for the future. Okay. Another comment from, another card from Danielle Iverson.
Hello, my name is Danielle Iverson. I'm the Director of Government Affairs with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Palm Beach County. We would just like to say thank you for your commitment to affordable housing. Some of the questions or that you have for us, that provides an opportunity for us to actually meet with the CRA and answer those questions when it comes to homeowner selection, how our homeowners come to us, and really demonstrate a personal agency to change their lives through affordable home ownership, whether that's financial literacy. We also talked about sweat equity, and you mentioned the fabric and improving the residential fabric. I think that's missing from the presentation. When a family comes up with Habitat, and I'll be quick, it's greater than a 4-month process. We're with that family from beginning to end. So when you talk about a community, you have the opportunity for everyone to come out, whether it's that groundbreaking, whether it's those volunteers who are actually working alongside that family to build a home and understand their story, right? And understand the need for affordable housing within not only West Palm Beach, but the rest of Palm Beach County. So I think that's how unique our program is, that families make an investment as well as people who partner with those families make an investment for community. I wanted to just quickly touch on the fact that we have built 420 homes in Palm Beach County, 73 within West Palm Beach. 7 have been built in the historic district, so we have the capability, we have the knowledge. We may not be directly in the neighborhood, but we are a part of that neighborhood already. So I think to your point, when we're considering, you know, what a partnership with other community partners look like, we definitely want to be considered. And just touching on a couple more things, I know, and it's great that the Signet Foundation can go to 4 months. I think our slide says up to 24 months. We have a lesser time frame than that. We have innovative solutions. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, what was proposed, but habitats all across the country, you know, are being very innovative in their housing solutions. We also have the opportunity to do that as well. And just one last thing, you know, we really see our families, I know we serve between 30 and 80%, but we see our families as essential employees for this county. These are our school teachers, these are our custodians. Our families work at Publix, they're everywhere, so we just want to make sure that, you know, we're continuing to allow these families to be a part of Palm Beach County, that they don't have to leave. And it's just really important that, you know, we continue to push that message forward. And we're happy to answer any questions and, of course, meet with everybody individually to share more about Habitat's program. And we look forward to being a great partner with the city and the CRA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to all the applicants today. I have gotten to know Neighborhood Renaissance very well, working closely with them. They've been advising me on my Adopt a Block project. Habitat is absolutely amazing. I think, I don't want to say my 2 favorite residents are living in a Habitat and a Neighborhood Renaissance home, but they're 2 of our most biggest advocates in the neighborhood. And I think it has completely changed the neighborhood to have even just these 2 families living 1 block away from each other, one on 5th and one on 6th, that have young kids. They want their kids to be growing up in a safe and family-friendly environment. They have taken it on themselves to start a neighborhood association when there hasn't ever been one before. So I cannot say enough good things about the work that you all do. And we do have these other 4 properties, and hopefully we can talk about that a little bit more. But I don't know the Mesocore team, but I also am very thankful that you have come to us with a proposal, and hope that we can work with you in the future. And Lamont and Signet, for anyone on this board that isn't familiar with them, They have a business already in the historic Northwest. They have come in like gangbusters. They have started, they are the president, I think, of the new Northwest Merchant Group, and they have been mentoring PAL. They have come probably to every single community event since I've met you, both Lamont and Paula, and so I know that you are completely engaged in this neighborhood and there to stay. So I'm really excited to give you a chance for this project. But I know that we have these other 4 projects that we just voted on a few weeks ago that we are going to be putting out for some kind of affordable housing. I know we have to do it in some the fair city process, but you know, if it's up to me, those of you who have already applied, we could just start working with you ASAP, because I'm so excited to have partners that want to come back and help us with the affordable housing. And we know we have the spots available, and we know we already have some amazing partners that we've worked with before. And so that's the most important thing to me, that we make sure that we can work with partners who are going to do what they say they are going to do, and that we're going to get these homes, and we're going to have new homeowners that can join Tawana and others in their neighborhood association. And so thank you all for applying, and just for everything that you're doing in the community. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you. Well said, Commissioner Fox. I think it's amazing that we have 4 different partners who want to come forward on this. I'm willing to give Signet a shot on this. I am familiar with the work that you've done in the community, although I look forward to getting to know more about your foundation and this work. But I hope that the other organizations, should we move forward with Signet, that the other organizations continue to work with the city and the CRA as well. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 23-46.
Second.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations to Signet. All right, that is the last item on this agenda, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.